What's up, everybody? Welcome to a new edition and expansion of the Chicago Football Show. I'm Scott Bair, and alongside me all season long for special post-game editions of the Chicago Football Show is new Marquee teammate, Nicholas Moreano. So excited to have you aboard for the entire season. And as we kind of get going every single week, you can expect on your audio platforms and on Marquee Sports Network, we are going to have detailed analysis for you right when you want it, right after the fourth quarter clock hits 000. Nick, we're coming to our audience here after the second preseason game, Bills versus Bears. Longest game ever. We're taping this at 11:10. That's when we're starting.
Yeah, man, it was a long game, but meaningful snaps were played because we saw Caleb Williams, the first team offense, got to see a little bit of that starting defense, but we got to see Caleb in front of the Soldier Field crowd, and I think based off of what we saw, it was good results because he was operating Ben Johnson's offense.
Yeah, and you were really charting and following Caleb extensively, both while he was playing and then after. You were actually watching game tape because on MarqueeSportsNetwork.com you wrote a detailed analysis and breakdown of how Caleb Williams functioned over the course of the first two offensive series. What were your main takeaways from seeing him work?
Yeah, that first team offense played 13 snaps, and you saw a little bit of the under center in the shotgun. But what you liked about Caleb Williams there, Scott, was just he was being a point guard.
Yeah.
He was distributing the football, getting the ball to his playmakers when he had time, accurate passes, and especially that 30-plus yard touchdown to Olamide Zaccheaus, just waiting for that play to develop. And that's what I think Ben Johnson wants out of this offense. Caleb, to get that 70% completion percentage, just be a distributor. And that's exactly what we saw in the limited snaps that he had in this the second preseason game.
But we didn't see any of the pre-snap issues that we'd seen at different times when you and I have been out at training camp. I think that was a real positive. But he seemed to have a rhythm with his passing. He was right on time so much. He found Colston Loveland twice, which is a good sign for such a young player. And the chemistry between him and Olamide Zaccheaus is so apparent. We've been seeing it all summer, and fans really got to see it on that touchdown pass.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been a connection that's been very frequent throughout training camp. It's been showing up, obviously, now in the preseason game. I also like, too, Scott, I mean, the first two plays of the game, they go to tight ends.
Yeah.
Colston Loveland, Cole Kmet on the seam route. Got a chance to hear from Cole in the locker room, and he just said that him and Caleb were able to diagnose the coverage on that play. Caleb delivers a perfect ball past the linebacker to Cole Kmet in the middle of the field, and you're able to see one of those explosive plays. But hitting your receivers in stride, getting the tight ends involved, that's going to be a part of Ben Johnson's offense. And we saw glimpses of that in this preseason game.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot of negative things to say about the first couple series. Williams actually took the blame for there was a third down in the second series that ended that drive. It was a play to Rome.
Rome Odunze in left sideline.
He kind of dove, and he probably could have caught it, but Caleb actually took responsibility. He said that he felt a rusher coming, and he kind of wanted to get the ball out quickly. He actually stepped back to give himself more space, and he should have given Deion Hankins the opportunity to make the good block, and that's exactly what Deion did, and Caleb was a little worried about that rusher, so he took the blame for that. And I think just hearing him break all of those things down, and he seems to have a full understanding of why things went right. And then when things don't go right, he can detail it to you very specifically. And he seemed to have learned from that. I think those are all positive signs too.
And, you know, for Caleb Williams, he always does take accountability when things don't go how they're supposed to, right?
Yeah.
And especially a play like that. It doesn't surprise me to hear that from Caleb Williams. But, you know, there was also plays in the game where you think about some of the third down. Like, he had a perfect anticipatory throw to DJ Moore on the left sideline. That's also what you want to see from Caleb Williams.
Right.
So you're seeing him not wait for targets to get open, but throw to spots because that means you're comfortable in the offense.
And I keep looking at it over those first two series, especially on that first series, 92 yards for a touchdown. There's only one incompletion early on. They're dialed, and you see Kyle Long tweeting, kind of jokingly, we hope, that it's time to book Super Bowl tickets. Caleb, what size,
What size ring do you need?
What size ring do you have? But this is also kind of putting it in perspective. It was a nice start because I think fans have been reading what has been some fair kind of criticism about taking two steps forward and then one step back sometimes. It was good to see, but we still need to see more before week 1. For
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Look, you had a Bears offensive line that had Luke Newman starting at your left guard in today's game with the first team offense. Braxton Jones was still in there with the starting unit, and for the most part, I thought he played relatively well in those 13 snaps. There was one third down where he did get beat inside, and Caleb does make a nice throw to DJ Moore. So there's still levels to this offense that we're still waiting to see, but for the first unit to come out 92 yards, get that touchdown in front of the Soldier Field home crowd, that's encouraging. That's exactly what you want to build off that good the joint practice that you had with the Bills, and then come out and execute here at Sunday night.
And it's something that I almost didn't think much about, but this game was on national television. So on everyone's timeline, you saw all these NFL analysts who hadn't seen the Bears live in person being like, well, Ben Johnson figured it out, or like they were wowed because those were the only Bears snaps like that they've probably seen to this point. I think we got to pump the brakes a little bit on just assuming that everything's going to be hunky-dory. But I think, again, these are encouraging signs. They didn't run very much, so it's hard to really grade it, especially because DeAndre Swift didn't play in this game. Joe Thuney didn't play. So that's still an incomplete for me in terms of the rushing game. But I did think that the rhythm was where you like to see it. And you were busy working the Bears post-game locker room. I was in the press conferences. And Ben Johnson, I don't want to get too into the weeds here, but his description of Braxton Jones to this point has been really good. He says sometimes he sees Braxton Jones look like his old self and look like he's really back. And then there are times when you get beat. But everybody, left tackles get beat in this league. What he said is he's seeing Braxton Jones is getting beat too fast. Meaning if you're going to get beat in a long, drawn-out battle. Get beat slowly is what he said. So Caleb has time to work around that pocket. Getting beat too quickly, that's also what you've seen on tape sometimes.
Yeah, no, it happens at times, and that's why, like, Theo Benedict has entered the equation as that in the first team offense in these joint practices. I actually got a chance to hear from him in the locker room. Talk to him about, like, the opportunity. It just feels good that the coaching staff is instilling that confidence in him, and he knows that he has a prime opportunity here to just keep putting good tape together to compete for a starting left tackle spot. But like I said, Braxton Jones, he played better, I think, in this game than he did in the week 1 preseason game against the Dolphins. And he just needs to keep stacking these practices, these games, because week 1's going to be here really quickly here, Scott. And they need to figure out who's going to be that left tackle for that game against Minnesota Vikings.
This game that we just watched, Ben Johnson said it's going to weigh heavily in the overall evaluation for who gets that left tackle spot. So I think it's interesting, one, that Braxton Jones took both first-team series, and two, how he played here. I think that they need to see progress. They can't continue to see the exact same thing happening. And this is just us talking here. This isn't something that Ben Johnson has said. I think deep down the Bears want Braxton Jones to take a stranglehold of this left tackle spot. It just hasn't really happened yet, but they do need to make a decision pretty soon because that left tackle needs to start building chemistry with the entire line, but left guard Joe Thuney in particular.
Yeah, they don't want to just give the spot away. You have to earn it. And at this point, nothing's been earned or been solidified right now. But like you said, the tape's going to be telling moving forward for which one of these guys will end up actually being the starting left tackle. But I think both guys, Theo Benedict, Braxton Jones, put some good tape out there. So now the evaluation gets even more murkier than it was prior to this game.
Which, it's so weird to have a position battle go this long.
Yeah.
I think we're starting to see one position battle at backup quarterback kind of wrap itself up a little bit. You and I were talking about this during the game. Case Keenum has a lot of experience and tons of value, but Tyson Bagent's playing pretty well.
He is, and it helps when you have a guy like Luther Burden out there with the second-team unit because Tyson's able to deliver the ball to a playmaker like that, and I think that also speaks to Ben Johnson's offense.
Yeah.
You're seeing Tyson Bagent operate it effectively, get his playmakers the ball in space, get the yards after catch, and now you're seeing Tyson Bagent, I think, really emerge being that I would say at this point, Scott, like the solidified number 2.
Yeah.
Even though it's no official depth chart or anything like that, but he's proven himself game after game now, practice after practice, that he is deserving to be that number 2 quarterback.
He had a play that was his touchdown pass to Tyler Scott
yeah.
was a design keeper. that really didn't have anywhere for him to go, and then Scott becomes the secondary option, and it was a beautiful play on the run. Scott is streaking across the back of the end zone. Great play from a guy who, if everything goes right, isn't going to play again after Friday's game against Kansas City. But you need a good backup quarterback in this league. You need a good quarterback room, because the coaches are going to say one thing, but to have your peers contribute to what the starting quarterback is able to do is key. And I think Tyson Bagent is a very willing participant in helping Caleb get ready.
Absolutely. I mean, he's all for the team and wanting to get everybody better, but he's also a competitor, man. You see that every time he gets out there on the football field. He's actually wearing an Allen Iverson jersey, being able to create, like you said, a QB keeper, but he's like, I see Tyler Scott. Let's distribute the football. So it doesn't surprise me to hear that from Tyson Bagent there.
We have to talk to you about Renegade Fantasy. It's the only app that lets you substitute players in real time, stop the clock, and participate in second season drafts just like a real coach. Join the Tom Waddle League on Renegade Fantasy Football on the app, win your season, and score $5,000 in cash. Are you ready to take your fantasy team to the next level? That means no more losing Sundays, seasons, or wasted lineups. Go to tomwaddle.renegadefantasy.com and join today. So let's dive back into the whole Luther Burden thing, right?
Yeah.
He's been primarily a second-team wide receiver.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily his fault. He did miss a bunch of time during the offseason program. He seems to have caught up very well, and he plays fast. He's a good yak guy, but he can't seem to crack the first team. It's kind of an interesting dynamic because you have this explosive player, but then you have Alameda, who has earned the right to be the primary slot receiver. Interesting dynamic for the rookie out of Missouri.
It is because, look, Luther's doing everything right at this point.
Yeah.
He's making plays. He's being reliable. He's in the right spots, and he's being a playmaker for the offense. But so is Alameda Zacchaeus. So are you going to take out him? I don't think that's the greatest option. You have Rome Odunze, you have DJ Moore. There's just a lot of options right now, Scott. So for Luther Burden to get into the first team offense, one of those guys you would think it would have to slip, but I'm not putting any money on any of those guys wanting to do that at this point.
But these are good problems to have, though.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But you add that to the tight ends, and there's so many skill players to get involved and are deserving of targets. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I think Luther Burden can be a guy who can exploit certain types of cornerbacks, and
absolutely,
I think Ben Johnson is going to be creative in kind of how he figures that out. I thought that was really interesting. I hate to head towards like a downer here, but the news on reserve cornerback Terell Smith, not great. Ben Johnson didn't have an official update other than to say that it didn't look good, and he echoed thoughts and prayers. That's never a positive thing. He left with a left knee injury in the second quarter. It just seemed to buckle on him. And he's not a guy that maybe a casual fan knows much about, but he's an important part of this team, and we don't know what's going to happen with him yet. But if he is lost for a significant period or the entire season, that's a big blow.
It is, and I mean, look, the Bears just signed 4 DBs not too long ago.
Right, just to get through camp.
Just to get through camp. Jalen Johnson's still going through his injury, even though we did see him out on the field kind of pregame workouts and things like that. Kyler Gordon's still, dealing with his soft tissue injury. So, and Terell Smith, obviously. Like, it's not a good – this is a bad position to be in as opposed to what we were talking about with the playmakers. And for Terell Smith, he's been making a lot of plays on the ball in these training camp practices. So, you hope and wish the best for a guy like that, but that just means other guys need to step up and be ready when their number is called upon. Yeah,
and that is a deep room, but there's something about injuries during the preseason that, like, I've been covering this league for 16 years. I've seen about everything, but there's something about a guy getting carted off in a game that matters but doesn't count, right? To use the Ben Johnson parlance, but it's always difficult to see those types of things on your Twitter feed. Like, you had a really good shot of the entire team rallying around him as he's getting taken off. That's always tough.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, it could have been any one of those Bears players, and I'm sure that would have been the same scene we would have saw on the field, but that was a guy that he's been working, and even last year when he was asked to play in place of Tyreek Stevenson at times, it always felt like Terell Smith was in the right place, right time, doing his job.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, the injury, we'll see what the significance is. But, yeah, you just hope that, he can heal from it.
And so each week you're going to be doing a stock up, stock down, stock watch on different players. Please check that out at marqueesportsnetwork.com. And you were kind of identifying guys. Can you give folks a preview of whose stock might be going up, whose stock might be going down?
Yeah, that number 18 guy, Caleb Williams, his stock would be going up. But
he looked pretty good.
Another underrated guy that was in that starting offensive line at left guard, Luke Newman, just kind of rewatching some of the plays there. I thought he matched up well in what he was asked to do, making some blocks. I know he missed one, but he's a guy that I think when asked to step into the starting role, did his job. So those are two guys that you can look for in the stock up, stock down.
And it's so weird because Luke Newman was buried on the third team for a while, and I think they want him to be a backup center, but that's a position that he hasn't played very much of. So that's a work in progress, and Ryan Bates is good at it, so they have options, even with Doug Kramer banged up. But this is a guy that was struggling to kind of find his way a little bit, and he really has started to do so. If we're looking at some of the other rookies, right? And again, both of us are going to go over the tape with a fine-tooth comb over the next 24 hours. But Ruben Hippolyte is another guy who's been playing a lot, second unit guy, generally on the weak side, I think. What are your thoughts on him? He obviously ran that crazy 40 at the Maryland Pro Day. It's one thing to run 40 yards fast. Do you think he plays fast?
I do see that on tape, Scott. I mean, in terms of what he can do sideline to sideline, this is a guy that will utilize his speed to his advantage. I know there was one rep in this game where he got lucky that the wide receiver tight end dropped the pass.
Yes,
it doesn't matter how fast you are. If he's the guy's ahead of you, he's going to, break away and use that speed against you. But for the most part, you see a guy that is going to fill his gaps, come downhill quick, and deliver a blow. So for the most part, from what we're seeing from Ruben Hippolyte, he's using his speed to his advantage.
Yeah, so there could be not just the first and top second rounder, that we could have significant draft class contributions from these guys, despite the fact that Shamar Turner's been banged up, although he was able to come back to practice and at least do some individual drills, that we could see early dividends from this group. Colston Loveland, he's going to be an impact player right away.
Absolutely. I mean, you see the first play of the game, the boot action pass, getting the reception there, another play over the middle of the field. That's going to be his game all season, Scott, where you get those linebackers to creep in after play action. There's an athletic tight end who can run away from safeties. He's too fast for linebackers, so he's going to be a huge part of this offense.
If you go back to the Lions offense last year, they used 12 personnel, which is 2 tight ends and 1 running back, 32% of the time, third in the NFL, and they passed out of that formation because when you have 2 tights, you can run a lot. They passed out of that formation 44% of the time. So I know the Lions offense will not be a direct translation to what the Bears look like, but I think that there are options within that personnel package that they could do some dynamic things. I mean, they could line up in 12 personnel and go 4 wide because Cole and Colston can do so much.
And I asked Cole Kmet, the first 2 passes went to tight ends. Does that say anything about what Ben Johnson wants to do? He's like, that's just kind of coincidence, kind of happened. And, I think when you really look into it, though, Ben does want to utilize those 2 tight ends, whether you're having those guys on the field to run block or be pass catchers. So they're definitely going to be a part of what Ben Johnson wants to do this season.
Now, I didn't script this, and I didn't tell you about this beforehand, but I'll put you on the spot anyway. I don't care. Since you were in the locker room pretty much for the entirety of you got kicked out.
I got kicked out, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because time was up. I should emphasize that. But, what was the best thing that you heard, or the best quote, or the best player kind of scrum that you were a part of? What really stood out to you?
So, Olamide Zaccheaus, I asked him, what was Caleb Williams' command in the huddle? What was it like being with him in the first time in a game-like setting? And the first one word he said, calm, collective, in the moment. And so when you see how he performed that 92-yard touchdown drive, and knowing that's what Caleb Williams was like in the huddle, I think that should give maybe even Bears fans confidence of how Caleb is taking in all the complexities that come with the Ben Johnson offense, able to get the play into the headset, distribute to the 10 other guys in the huddle, and go out there and execute. So hearing him say calm is the first word to answer that question should be, I think, just reassurance that Caleb is trending in the right direction. and showed out on the field today.
Yeah, and I think calm actually is going to follow right up with the best thing I heard in the Bears press conferences, which was Caleb Williams and Tyson Bagent both saying that Ben Johnson over the headset during a game is calm and cool and everything is breezy and easy. They also said during practice he will take time out to dog cuss you if you do something wrong or just have a conversation into your headset. So I thought that was really interesting, and I think that's a good thing for a head coach to want to emphasize that everything is under control even when it feels chaotic. And that may seem like a small thing, but just spit out the play. Everything's fine. If it's 4th and 2, we are going for it. Very clear and calm and confident communication. That's important. Another little factoid that I thought was interesting, especially for a first-time head coach, Declan Doyle called the second half offensive plays, and Al Harris, the Bears secondary coach, called the second half defensive plays. Now, you normally get this with an experienced and established head coach in the last preseason game. Ben Johnson's still trying to work out all the head coach stuff. So calling plays and managing games and calling timeouts and challenges and all the billion things that he has to do on the sideline, you would think that he would want every single rep. I thought that was a pretty stand-up move because not only are you developing players as a head coach, you're also developing coaches, right? To give Declan, who's never been a play caller, and Al Harris that opportunity, it really spoke volumes to me, especially in the second preseason game for guys that are still trying to kind of get their systems down.
You know, to me, that just signifies that Ben Johnson gets it.
Yeah.
Right? He's allowing guys, like you just said, that don't have those opportunities to get this opportunity in the preseason where the games matter, but, again, the result doesn't, right? And to allow a guy like Declan Doyle to get those opportunities, to get that experience, he's going to want to go on and be, a play caller himself one day, I would assume.
Yeah.
And to get that opportunity in this game, with Tyson Bagent, like that's good reps to get. And so, again, that just speaks volumes to what Ben Johnson, how he's approaching this first time being a head coach.
I know, it's wild.
Yeah.
He doesn't feel like one.
No, not at all. And again, that should be a good sign that the Bears, they got their guy.
Yeah, I think that they did. He also said something that he said scheme had nothing to do with our success today, speaking with the first drive. I don't know if I buy that, but he talked about rhythm, timing, and execution and making the right reads as being the most important thing. That's why they were able to execute, not the specific play call or how it was drawn up. So I kind of get that. But we've seen evidence on more than one occasion, even at Family Fest, right, that where Ben Johnson, he can scheme you open. And I think scheme will play a role here, but I think Ben's also kind of focused on everything else needs to be right or the play design doesn't matter.
Well, that's why he's been preaching the details since day one, right? So it doesn't even matter, like, again, there could be a wide open wide receiver, but if the details from the offensive line are not where they need to be, a defender's rushing right in Caleb Williams' face wide open. So details. But it's all going to play a part of it, Scott. Like, you need the schematics to match up. You need Caleb Williams and his footwork to match up. You need everybody to be on the same page to execute these plays. And if you get that, then maybe you can get results like what we saw in this preseason. Maybe not this lopsided, but you'll get positive results.
Yeah, one thing I didn't mention off the top, and I should have, the Bills played essentially nobody in this game.
Yeah.
In terms of, like it was all backups. So that has to be kind of be factored into the evaluation.
Absolutely.
But for everything that we've been talking about, especially about that first series, it's tough to argue with the timing and the reads and being on the same page, all those things that we felt were disjointed going back to when camp started. It seems like a lot of those things are starting to be cleaned up. This was always a race to week one. It was never he succeeded or failed on August 8th or anything like that, right? That it's a slow build, but we're starting to see this thing come together. We haven't talked much about the defense, the first-team defense, and I think we only have a couple minutes left in the show, but the first-team defense, there's only 3-4 snaps. Not much to take, but not much to complain about.
No, I mean, we saw Javon Dexter get in the backfield for one of those snaps early on in the game. Did. But I would like to see that front four with Grady Jarrett playing to see what it actually looks like. But they got the job done. We're able to force a punt on that first drive, give it back to the offense. But, yeah, more to be seen from the starting defense.
Yeah, and I think what Ben was saying about the left tackle, that this game was a key evaluation point.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a key evaluation point for us. Just as because we didn't script this show, so it's like as we're going through this conversation, we kind of realize there's a lot to take from this preseason game.
Absolutely.
And I think there's going to be a lot to take kind of moving forward as we get towards week 1. And the Chicago Football Show is going to be with you every step of the way. After every single game, me and Nick are going to break it down, give you the best things that we heard from the locker room, from the press conferences, and with our own eyes, by the way. And it's going to be a super fun season. Can't wait to get going. So, of course, rate, review, and subscribe to anywhere that you get your podcast. The show is going to be on YouTube. It's going to air on Marquee Sports Network, so download the app. Lots of good stuff ahead. Nick, I'm so excited that you're joining us this season. It's going to be a fun ride. We don't know how it's going to go. We know it's not going to be boring.